Hey everyone, today I'm going to be showing you my full coverage foundation routine. I'm still using my old foundation routine, so if you want to go check that out, I will have that link below. That is basically me using the Bare Minerals matte foundation, which is a little bit more natural of a coverage. It's not as heavy and it's great for summer too. But I wanted to show you guys a full foundation routine because I have been suffering from some acne recently. Not suffering, but I've been having some acne recently, and I also picked up the Revlon Color Stay Whipped Foundation. So this is going to be a demo of this. And I wanted to show you guys how I apply liquid foundation, since I never have really talked about liquid foundation on my channel, I don't think, because I've always used mineral. But sometimes it can aggravate my skin, so I don't feel like I need to do a review on it because I've pretty much talked about this enough, and I really love the consistency of this. I have like dry skin, it can be a combination. It's never oily really, but I have heard this works good on oily skin as long as you set it with the powder. That's the only thing I say about this, because it is a thick cream foundation, but it's not too thick. You can apply it really sheer, or you can build up the coverage, which I like to do with it. I apply about 2 layers of it, just thin layers. So it's very buildable. You can work with it. All I have on right now is my moisturizer and my lip balm. So my face was breaking out pretty bad. It seems to be getting a lot better. It's just healing up right now, so I have a lot of like a scab here and like leftover acne marks to cover up, and then some that are still healing. So it's a little bit dry because I was laying out in the sun this morning at the pool. So yes, so that's just my skin condition right now. This is also going to be a demo of the Revlon Color Stay whipped cream makeup, and my shade is actually in 220 Nude. And this is a little bit light for me, I think, but I wanted to get something that would work as well in the winter because I don't wear foundation every day, probably only once a week. So I wanted something that was going to last me a while until winter time too. So I'm going to start off with my L'Oreal Magic Perfecting Base, and I've talked about this a lot. I think they changed the formula of it because the packaging, or the text on it, the packaging looks a little bit different, and the texture feels a little different. It feels more like whipped and light. So I always start off with this to keep my makeup lasting longer and to fill in my pores. And this really helps fill in any lines. It keeps my foundation from creasing, and especially if you've got acne marks like this, it's very like hydrating because it's a thicker cream, so it just kind of fills in any of those marks around them. But I just like to lightly like tap it, and this is kind of like, it reminds me of like jello or pudding. So when you tap it, it just barely moves. Okay, so I've got some on my brush, and I'm just gonna kind of dab it around my face. I'm hardly using any. With this foundation, a little goes a long way. You don't need that much product at all. You could even take your finger if you want to kind of apply it to the areas of your face. So then I'm just going to stipple it in first, and then I'll go through and blend it. I'm just pressing it into my skin. And for this, I like using this flat top kabuki from Sigma. This is the Sigma F80 because it's very dense and like stiff. Not stiff, but it's pretty dense, so it blends a thick foundation in really well. Okay, so now I'm going to go around in circular motions really lightly. You don't want to press too hard. And blend it out because you don't want to drag the foundation. You just kind of want to buff it in using the white bristles. So with this foundation, it's very buildable. As you can see, it's pretty light coverage right now, so I'm going to actually go in with another layer, and this will add some more coverage just to the areas where I feel like I need it. So I've got like a thin layer all over my face, and then I'm just going to go in with another small. So around blemishes like this, I like to just tap it, just so it taps it into the skin, because it's like dry around that area, and it can be, the skin can be like cracked or something, so I like to just press it in like that to really sink it down into those crevices. And same around my pores right here. You want to make sure you get your foundation into the large pores instead of just like going across the top so they're not noticeable. So I like to stipple it into my face like this. So I'm just going to take a little bit onto my brush and take it down my neck. You shouldn't have to put a lot on your neck because it should match your skin perfectly. But my face is a lot whiter than the rest of my body, so I have to blend it a little bit. Okay, so now that I've gotten the amount of foundation that I want on my face, I'm gonna go in with my concealer. This foundation can double up as a concealer as well if you just want to layer it up. So underneath of my eyes, one of my favorite things to do is take a brush like this one. This is a Sigma E25, so it's one of like the little travel size brushes that I got free with some Sigma brushes. And I'm taking my NYX Full Coverage, Above and Beyond Full Coverage Concealer, and mine is in the shade Light. And I just kind of dip it in like this. You could use your finger as well. It's a very creamy full coverage concealer. And I take this underneath my eyes like this. My under eye circles aren't too bad, but they need a little help. And then I tap it in with my finger just to blend any of the excess and get it out of the creases. And then I like to take a little bit up over my eye. Okay, so then I'm going to take a little bit more and go around any blemishes. And I love using a brush like this because you can blend it out really lightly and feathery without having to like smear it around, because that's the thing with covering a blemish. And I just tap it in with my finger. Then if I need to like push it in a little bit more, I take a brush like this one. This is just the regular Sigma concealer brush. I dab a little bit right on the spot and just leave it. Like, you don't want to touch it too much because that will smear the concealer. You just want to kind of leave it, and then when you put the powder over it, it'll kind of blend. And you want your concealer to match perfectly for the concealer you use around your blemishes and under your eyes. That way you don't have like a white spot or really white under eyes. If I have like a really bad like active blemish, I like to take some of my spot treatment, which is like a benzoyl peroxide one, and put it over but not blend it in too much. That way I make kind of like a paste, like a mask over it. Then when I put my foundation and my concealer on, I feel like it's not setting into it and making it worse, so it's just going on over it, so you have a barrier in between. So I really like doing that, and it helps it heal up as well because you have the medication on underneath of it, and then also the concealer doesn't sink down into that pore and make it even more infected. So I found that that helps a lot too. So then I'm going to go in with my powder, which is the NYX Stay Matte But Not Flat Powder Foundation in the color Creamy Natural. And this is a lot too light for me, but it's just powder, so it works okay. So what I like to do is actually take the powder puff like this and just get a little bit under it and press a little bit on it and press it underneath my eyes. And I find that this helps to keep the concealer from creasing. And also the sponge absorbs any of the excess concealer or foundation. And that's all I use the puff for. Then I go in with a kabuki brush, and my favorite is the e.l.f. Face Kabuki brush. It's so soft and really cheap. And I just throw it all around, get some powder on there like that, and just start pressing that into my skin. And you just want to press this so you don't drag your concealer. So I feel like that makes me look a little bit whiter because it is light, and this does have some coverage since technically it is a powder foundation, which I recommend using a powder foundation over a regular foundation if you need that added coverage. So sometimes I like to go in with just whatever concealer is left on my brush and go back over it with the powder over top of it. And sometimes with the powder underneath, it helps to like make the concealer stick even more. So you might even find that applying your concealer after the powder and then going in with another layer of powder will help it stay on a lot better. So now that we're done with foundation, concealer, and powder, I like to use a bronzer. And my favorite bronzer is in my Too Faced The Bronze and Beautiful French Riviera Edition palette, and it's actually the Chocolate Soleil bronzer, which is right here. This is a very dark bronzer, so if you have really fair skin, I don't recommend using this. So just to contour, I'm using this Sigma angled contour brush and just dipping a little bit in and then contouring the hollows of my cheeks. This smells like chocolate. Then I like to take a large powder brush like this one and just get a little bit on my brush and go down my neck. And you can find this palette on apotheca.com. I have a haul and review on it if you want to check that out. I will link it below. So then I'm going to take the same palette and get some of this baby pink shimmery highlighter right here. This is called Snow Bunny. And I'm using one of these fluffy brushes that I got in a set at Walmart. And they're really nice double-ended brushes. This one's just like big and fluffy. Usually I do my highlight after my blush. I'm not sure why I just did it backwards, but I would do it after my blush. Okay, now I'm just gonna lightly blend that. I'm not even really pressing down that hard. For blush, it typically varies every day. I think today I'm gonna go with a powder blush just because I am wearing the liquid foundation, and powder usually sets better over top of it, especially when it's really hot and stuff outside because it doesn't really melt away. So I think I'm going to be taking this color right here, which is just a medium baby pink, kind of coral. So now I'm just taking my kabuki brush again and just lightly going over this. Okay, so now that everything is blended in, this is when I would typically go and do my brows. I haven't done an updated brow routine, but I will just do them really quickly, speed it up for you guys if you want me to. So I'm just taking a spoolie like this, and then I'm going to go in with some brow powder. So that is it for my full coverage flawless foundation routine. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I'd love to see yours, so leave it in the video responses below, because foundation routines are probably one of my favorite videos to watch other than like tutorials and stuff. So really love seeing foundation routines, and I'd love to see yours. As always, all the products I use will be listed on my blog, which is www.getglammedup.com, so make sure you go ahead and check that out. And also check out the whole new design of that and my YouTube channel page design. I redid all that stuff, and I have a couple new blog posts up, so all that stuff will be linked in the bottom bar. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I will talk to you very soon. Bye everyone!